it was sharp as a sword in the end. Often you can smack, stun and stab with your shield in combat. There is more to this simple defensive position. Maybe the enemy is so within the reach of the shield length, yet trying to go through. Full black plate armor, white, gilded gold, some places smooth, or arms and legs free, both had their advantages. Better with a kite shield than armor if I could just choose one, thought James strategically, masterfully and a bit playful competitive. Block and slash where my arms go thus. A crowd favorite was his armored boxing. Everyone loved knights boxing furiously. Some of these guys stun like a warhammer with their fists through plate. With weapons like the polearm, James also put 1 decimeter glaives into his right gauntlet. A polearm is only dangerous at the pointy end. Closer attacks were stabbed with his gaunt gauntlet George steroid unicorn pants thus. Everything changed like a chapter, but not yet, where one evening after hot medieval games he heard someone sniggering in his computer corner thus. There was nothing there? It seems he was being sent incredibly suggestive gotchi-mochi songs. There goes another one. Something was just too ridiculous to keep a straight face. Specifically trying to communicate, what is this you're listening to, human? The London people around in this neon light London night had no idea what would happen. What's that, Jimmy? Did Santa fill your Christmas sock with propane? Thank you, Father, Jimmy said with the voice of a mesmerized adult. Revealed and silly over time, James stretched out his hand into his apartment nothingness and felt temperature difference, cold, something wet, suction and stretching of his mind. Things changed as he stuck around. That could only mean aliens? Deducted panicky James, they must be serious sternly as per needed basis, but this through sensitivity that too ridiculous for the paid work thus. Advanced civilization through technology, carefree world where we toil in despair and worry. Technology advances pretty quick with just 1,000 years through for anyone, or ourselves. More sensitive and smarter than your imagination, James used his imagination. James had read about the most common alien encounters on Wikipedia and thus imagined the Scandinavian-looking alien, a cousin to humans, with multiple eyewitnesses, concerned with spiritual paths. James realized just thinking about summoning aliens, and summoning, chanting annoying should be enough. James had been scientifically open to aliens because of the prominence of 1,000 planets with life conditions like Earth. The 4 thinker personalities believe in aliens the most. Look at the pollution they exert into the atmosphere seen through color gas cameras. But what do you do now when you actually meet one now? Partying? What be thine alien, grey, homunculus, Scandinavian cousin? Stop sending out shuttles looking for life, we're right here, I admit it. James thought, can you think what I think, and then said it. And feel what you feel, Jim Human. He looked like a mix of grey alien and something taller 3 meters forsooth. There was width and longer limbs, connected intimidation and speed of predators. Did you figure out time travel yet? James was ready to have a pleasant, well-mannered conversation. It only works with special fashionable Alpha Centauri hamsters thus digitally put through non-AMD graphics cards. Just recently, the humorless voice answered, it was unexpectedly difficult, like learning a new language, difficult, like being unable to master. Time, space, dimension, machine and spiritual opening at the same time, not a lot of people thought of that. It can't happen to me, and let me guess, you cannot show thus? No human unit, think of 5 reasons why. I am one of the smartest humans. Unexpectedly he said, very well Jim Human. What about, pollution balance, population? Shut up. Unexpectedly and tiresome James pulled out a gun. If you threaten me you will always think to rectify the situation, you will come to compensate, think up new ideas, but smart boy, you will never be smart enough to figure it out. I wish there was a time where a bullet didn't win against every duel thus and everything, the gun wins, I will win. There is no skill, no time to think, the cool things now is the size of the firearm you wield, only the aim. The alien man dodged like morphing, swirling through a dash, cheating through the human technology. The alien took his wrist, coldly threatened, and he was indeed pulled through a cascade of time and colors, but it felt like his feet were still on the ground. He had been transported to medieval London 1,000 years ago. He was ostracized with a katana odachi and 18 bullets in a time of arbalist and warhammer, blood and ice, wine and piss. What could the value be of 18 one-shots like an electric wizard, 18 duels, 18 times to show off being from the future and convincing of the magic, like a prodigy? Chapter 2. Ass of Power and the Path of the Nerd. James really had a strong... A few days later, a pleasant 2 weeks. Weeks of toiling through spiritual productivity, technically and intellectual performance. They were sitting in the university benches being considered with own theories and papers. What if there's another plane? What shall be our next plane? The planets are connected like cousins. Unless the dimension is flat. Everyone knows of the Coffee Bean Caribbean Islands, watery island plane. Let's go, there are beans and legends. The place is 50% oxygen compared to Earth's 20%, it will make for different species and generous ability, evolution. You will get used to it, it's not dangerous, makes the rum taste better, great sleep like waking up lucky, and with enough pressure to the chest the oxygen recovers the brain. True. You might just as well pressure with your arms pushing your chest. I say let's align with the French. There is strategy between every territory and they're all eager to have us. Fine, let's go through stormy lightning jetting night through the portal of dimensional greed. I will sell my service and competence like a new set contemporary. Legendary, ENTJ, Pirate Napoleon Revolution, not Bonaparte, was about productivity, excellence, productivity, efficiency and productivity. He had a plan for everything but an INTJ would have had too, and when there wasn't action he thought of strategies. What is his purpose spiritually being so rare yet so focused on society and thoughtless work? Maybe it is not about work. There was action about him, speaking so quickly and with such indignation to work. Maybe he'd be reincarnated as flashy Steve Jobs. Which is also an ENTJ actually, he had dreams and career dreams, like a strategy but in a dreamlike state. This had some sensitivity, but the one to ruin their plans is usually their neurotic bad mental health, or likelier than tough words with toughness that's met like summoning a first layer of tolerance. Napoleon was a man that was as tough as it gets, like James. Let's see if they will argue about anything. A leader with a powerful arsenal of friends, he made friends with thinkers and was a self-improver compared to their super-efficient group counterpart the boss or secretary personality. One letter difference, ESTJ. There are many differences, for example how they are when they are not whipping people into efficiency, Napoleon being too tough and showing no emotion, maybe, being abstract and intuition like something reached blindly in a dream, being kind of intuitive while showing no emotion. These personalities are both very sensitive like to their five senses, like reflexes, so much input for their brain and through people, out through being in their mind more, the world disappearing like distractions. ENTJ being vulnerable to cruel truths, cruel acts, feedback, recognition and acceptance, about his abilities perhaps and shifting cold speech. This is the most sensitive thinker perhaps, like sensitive senses, behind a tough group leading exterior, it's tough like impossible intelligence, fueling a retort, all business, no bullshit. In efficiency there is not always time for emotion, if everyone cared for you smallest details, but smothering details might just the right thing to do sometimes. But he was about group strategic productivity then business. He was a thinker businessman in this world, climbing ladders of capitalism that was like a quest of honor, statistically being happy and good at all sorts of work, lended like an efficient arm. This is not near the 1700s but at the 1000s newly discovered Chinese black powder for weapons. Medieval pirates. A remarkable aromatic burnt Neapolitan. He had made coffee in the plain Caribbean coffee bean islands, it was as pungent as perfume, but didn't taste like perfume. It fell short with milk through and the old ladies around the islands drank coffee quick. To drink coffee like water is being focused on logistics. It traded competitively around the islands but people like Count, Viscount, the Count were ready to invade his vineyards. Stormy he had been stopped at the docks and 6 ships were broadsiding. In the dark bottom storage Napoleon found Viscount carrying off his produce. Like a sinner but the kind of predator to not be startled while getting caught, but steal harder. En garde. Stop in the name of Caribbean island coffee and the force of Napoleon Rapier contemporary. I got your product figured out. Viscount was known as a great sculptor, making 7 sculptures already of himself. You wouldn't destroy my produce if you could never have it? Viscount's huge white ponytail like captain's hat looked aristocratic, he was the best dressed on the battlefield for sure. And incredibly flamboyant. No I wouldn't, he raised his white gloves and 2 luxurious rapier. They fought with rapier cutlass, a new argument. Pirate Napoleon shot a grape shot big as a fist from his long musket, Viscount rolled like he was playing Dark Souls and Napoleon destroyed his own mahogany desk, embers flashing his beard. Viscount stabbed for his heart greedily twice but was superiorly deflected. Viscount was fast and maybe weak, he would figure out that soon every thrust was piercingly deflected. Napoleon made a 6 slash on his chest, sacre blue candle and Viscount disarmed through the pain, defeated. An irrefutable piercing point. He felt like he had never worked out but I guess there was no armor. Upon the decks pirates fought without much clothes and armor, winning a battle that could determine the next. Viscount has been taken, yield unto us. Comically a lot of pirates tried to calm each other into stopping fighting. It's over, stop fighting, Viscount has been defeated. As the pirate said this shot a pirate in the face accidentally, looking at the crew. He opened his voice to speak but instead caught a flying chicken in his mouth, it fluttered upset and confused. A pigeon took a shit on his shoulder like experimental painter. Your pirates are standing on a knife's edge. Edge of a knife, a pigeon took a shit on his shoulder. Splat. Thank you pigeons, can you aim better next time? Thus another pigeon shit on his next shoulder. I am beyond any pigeon shitting, he said bravely. They are nothing compared to me, I don't even see them. Napoleon shot Count through a cannon straight up. He looked like a smoked chicken leg and in pain. A golden fleeced disproportionately large legs and ears bunny came to Napoleon's side with pink shining antlers, Windlance the golden-footed. You can have the new vineyard, Ford and I almost drank these barrels of smoked habanero Henri Bourgeois, I buy my release. Smoky black hair ruined Count Seth. Find your captain. In a culverin Viscount was fired 30 meters into the sea painfully and his crew ran like theater pals concerned with their leader. He's a pussy but at least he cares about the environment. It's great working for him, he is a sensitive coward, many books. I am efficient and am enjoying the circumstances of work. The Coffee Bean Islands were like a huge island territory, flying migrating whales with ghost light green luminescent undersides, except for the northwest and a huge hole of water in the middle plus 4 islands. There were 7 territories, 8 colonies and 9 pirate factions fighting. Elves, France, England, Dwarf, Italy, Spain, China, with the 8th colony being barbarian and 9th pirate faction the penniless corsairs. You were not allowed to eat the cows, sheep and even goats here, because they produced the cheese. The wine was warm, fruity and 50% like juice and was a place of nutty, chocolatey, creamy and bitter coffee. The sport was a deconstructed version of baseball that usually ended up with everyone drinking wine then fighting each other. This was a place where people drank more wine than beer, dark rum over spirits. Because of the wine culture, drinking lower percent wine was okay, like contemporary, every being pliant with the new reasonable. And for teenagers it was served in school, maximum 2 cups. Turns out alcohol makes you forget what you learn, oh well. Just like in France. Smoking wisdom stem, clarity leaf, Blackguard's bountiful cheeky retort and Cuban cigars was also legal at 16. A land of delicacy for some, a land of making money for those with taste buds. Everyone wanted the best, latest gourmand thing, ready to pay for it. There were breadsticks, chocolate chips and peanut hazelnut chocolate pizza. They had restaurants like Religious, kept up to 14 icons of kept reviews, new cuisine, fusion cuisine. The food reviewers were cruel and feared, ready to be presumptuous. The latest places, some affordable once in a while, they blew romantic experiences together, a cute time but they savored the food more. Fat people were held to different conversations, they knew how it was here, the chefs were supposed to be overweight. The chocolate was sacred, when you bought another 100 grams luxury piece for €7. Olive oil and barbecue sauce was the religion, sacred, sold in artistic bottles, talked about like frail relatives, like dirty allowance. People sat outside the delicacy stores, having coffees to choose between, remarkable pricing per cup. Brutes and pirate magicians respected the old ladies drinking like experts, sharing in their ability to communicate, hold back things and speaking with manners, concerned with the world of old people. So much time we spend being old and without hair, from 50 to 100 there is half a life being content being less competitive, and the more coffee the islands drank the older they got, spending quite a lot of time with white hair, through no one knew quite why they got old like elixirs and lactose. Inside the delicacy shops which were magical in size like forgetting. The pirated lummoxed and considered price and value, duration and experience, some olive-fried Italian snacks could be eaten for 20 minutes, no one seemed to mind the Italians then, a golden air of tolerance like conversations about theater. Of olive oil, balsamico and sauces there were ancient-shaped supremely legendary priced bottles, like 100 or 1,000 quid. They were shaped like cauldrons and elixirs, people imagined the taste and would not be disappointed. Of course some delicacy tastes are hidden like a fainting parrot, but when you go back to normal-priced rice snacks, it is weighed like piercing. Sometimes they were stolen but were insured by the state, there had been quite a need for this change. In the quite lethal pirate book of handcrafted laws there were the protection of the taste parched and correction of swaying drunk masters. Piracy was common as Saturdays or maybe Wednesdays, everyone had practiced fencing, cannoneering or hired muscle. Anti-piracy politicians were not ambitious and usually took cigars from the side, but the golden age of coffee beans was not yet. They drank wine in the arguing lower rooms and smoked the cigars between savory lies. The pirates lathed treasure and glided free, they found hoards of treasure and gold to spend in French ports then competitively fought gang to gang, making territory. Offense was better than defense, cigar-smoking masters clasped their heads and they lost 2 territory for 3. It was possible that the most annoying defense, more defense than offense was required, just large armies or mages and animals and ships. The 9 seas were unexplored, the free pirate ports were cozy, small countries luxurious, headed by pirate captains in shipwrecks. One devious plot was paying pirate ports to raid let's say Port Salut of its defenses then you siege in and claim the port yourself. People changed ports often and nationalities, there goes the castle and its provincial yards again, some pledged loyalty, some turned into mixes of flags, many tried their best. The French were very pleasant with their workers' laws. We see our hero James, after getting here finding himself in a fine-ass establishment, small dancing room in the Royal Port Salut Ball. He had bribed the guard and smooth-talked himself into the privilege, the small orchestra was going crazy on classical music, speed and intensity technical to metal, wigs flailing. James was dancing like a god, tearing it up with his extreme sports designer wheelchair he did one-wheel wheelies and breakdances with. Our boy could spin on his head arms out wheelchair balancing skewed on uneven legs. How did he do this? Although daughters the governors were 50 and the daughters 30, people were only interested in the beautiful daughters. In the end the posh contestants applauded each other and the boy James grabbed the port's governor's daughter, huge bosom and slender waist, let her see the room upside down from his grip then he kissed her passionately. These daughters could be beautiful like this, with hair up in knots, ginger, blonde and auburn. Thus he exited on his insane magical, black power engine wheelchair, steering with XXL arms and bloody veins popping. His arms looked like he raced wheelchairs. He asked the daughter shorter, humble, linear and contrite. She liked being taller for now but could have enjoyed it more. Would you like to sit in my wheelchair, dwarven technology this is. She sat like a rescued dame they blazed off in the luxurious governing halls with pitiful pastel coloring, James flying up the walls and looping the ceiling avoiding people in the way. This was a common tradition. You might have won my heart over dancing again James, I think for you I have a look at these fine gifts, there are spare artsy parts like bonus quarterly wine. You are rich like doubt. 3 rapiers, stabbing weapons, with luxurious artsy guards, detailed like getting new glasses. I don't have a rapier, fine amethyst. You bought me an amethyst? Quite, James procured a ruby from his pocket with at least shades of pink. Join me fair lady for a wheelchair race, fishing of exotic laziness and rum drinking on a sunny beach. Like sinners are we, in lieu of toiling work and beautiful places forbidden. I love this amethyst, sure I'll go, yes it's with your Cuban friend? Her eyes loved treasure as these ideas. Enter tropical fishing hut and beach, with Monsieur Mansion on the hill aft sunny vineyards. You know this James, the adventurer and collector of keys now? Said Napoleon. Quite a charming rogue, said daughter Weiss, daughter of all actors the governor. I like it when he tries to be posh and luxurious. He has a lot of money, people say. He's an adventurer, successful one. Don't ruin it. Rev up, gentlemen. James and Olivia with one wheelchair each revved and revved.
Yeah, I forgot to buy coffee milk. It is a sad day. That slaps me on the cock. Makes more sense than me anyway. Someone else should slap you on the, not yourself. Bucket. But just the soy milk and the green tea, it is so strange. They go strange together. Like it's not tea or coffee at all.
Rev up, gentlemen. James and Olivia with one wheelchair each revved and revved. Eventually fire was starting to break at the bottom wheels. And they are off. Zoom, like greased lightning. James had such a lightning start, but somehow, Olivia is keeping up with him. He's gaining in insanely muscular strides. They pushed each other, wheelchair carnage. James hit the railings of the docks and glided until he had to jump a 2-meter gap down to the next railing. James tried and tried his best, but heart sinking, eventually Olivia rounded him. Finish around the beach. Well, Mr. Olivia was as muscular as steroids themselves, arms like a caricature. Intelligently, Napoleon didn't mind saying, so we are 3 thinkers here, everyone exceptional. I think together we'll be a proud coffee gourmand office. Whatever thus. So you don't mind working for me, French and coffee business, you will be my muscle, fixer and mixer. Olivia spends all his free time mixturing with chemistry. Olivia didn't hear this, like he was selectively deaf. Be careful of the somewhat greater jungle demon, they are green and black colored like vines. Yeah, they're pretty dangerous. There's also the really quite proper jungle demon. Really, they are part of a worshipping cult of God Engelbrecht. They guard entrance to the dungeon of Mook, or prosperity. They are intelligent unless asked normal, chivalrous questions. Indeed. Oh dear. And on this French part of the island we have 6 meters brown jungle pumas called cappuccino macchiato. Don't pull them in the balls or the tail. They can also reverb fart and go 20 meters into the sky. You're not a man unless you can pull a puma in the balls, said Olivia imposingly. Shut up, muscle man, said Napoleon. Where I come from, Cuba, we say, not all that glitters is gold, not all pumas you can pull balls down. You're not smart like this, it is borrowed words, said Napoleon. They think they are such big kitties, I can beat a puma with my fists or maybe a staff. They just bite in the throat to suffocate, that's all they have with their big arms. Just protect yourself from the claws, wrestle with this fat cute cat. I'm surprised the cheetah doesn't just tackle its foe with its speed. Is there an animal like this? The rhino is weight plus force, but where I come from we realized the peregrine falcon can reach 385 kilometers per hour. You don't see the bird, you just see the seagull getting clapped. We have the jungle penguin, the Acraeon penguin. They are terrible at everything unless underwater. They are graceful swimmers. Some birds are mammals, you wonder if they are just victims, a life of being a blob. They can be very good at reproduction. There are giant herbivores without defense and used to be giant sloths. Teach me the ways to make coffee, Napoleon. My mind has never been larger. So how much free coffee is in the deal? Honestly, I drink about 4 to 12 cups a day, he said friendly and confidently. The cheapest stuff, Sunshine Raisin Meadows, you can have as much as you like. The Aroma coffee? Maybe not. Can I try your best coffee? Aroma 1 and 2, no milk. That coffee has a punch of excellence yet strange lands. Strangest beans. I get it, milk ruins the antioxidants we figured in the future. He's kidding, right? No, we had a longevity thing, country by country already in our habits. No one would say no to drinking more coffee to get less cancer and heart disease, not British people. Black tea works too, almost as good as green, don't bind the antioxidants to the milk protein. Tea leaves are healthy enough diluted, or you can eat whole powder, matcha tea. Do you think you can sell, live longer, drink luxurious coffee stuff? James. Not bad, James. Well, I am trying to make our customers drink it black anyway. Be honest, right, drink it black, also associated with living years longer. Years? Just what do I not know from your years? More like 1 to 2 years, green tea repairs DNA too, telomeres. It's beans, coffee beans or antioxidants, the power of beans, you see these oak arms? James slapped his biceps, this is mostly made of beans, you know, chickpeas, lentils, vegan stuff. I made sure as long I have worked out, the muscle fiber came from vegetarian sources. Green muscle. Your vegan bodybuilding diet is so fucking funny, said Olivia, beans, then he started on a wheezing laugh. He was confident in his old ways, ready to be very ambitious with this structure. Napoleon didn't lift heavy weight, but he could fence thus. Enter coffee and coffee chocolate with a different air. This is Aroma, Napoleon, you know of our legacy? James, Olivia smelled and sipped intently. 5-second silence. Jesus Christ, that might be one of the best things I have ever drunk. So much aroma, so much flavor. The chocolate flavor comes for about a second and it's like something chocolate related I never tried. There is sweetness like plum or vanilla, gentle like sugar was not invented yet. I would be fine with this if there was no sugar. People don't buy the expensive coffee, I can't figure it out. Olivia enjoyed it in silence and he wiggled it like tea. I'm used to this flavor now, Napoleon, Olivia said. Well, it is a bean, James. It's 30% Blue Mountain, the best and most expensive bean in the world, followed by chocolate Black Mountain, Gold Rush beans, something that grows here like a gold mine. I secured the land with a heavy investment. Thankfully I was the highest bidder, he said poshly. Power of beans. Power of beans, Napoleon went for a hillbilly impression. The chocolate they sold with the coffee was like melted chocolate, rich for seconds and then nothing. This is our main seller, even if it's expensive, aroma Napoleon. Yeah, this is supposed to be had black, I can tell, said James. This makes me feel acute and smarter, said Olivia, impossibly deep and impressionable. So it changes flavor what 4 to 5 times, I barely have patience for this. I sense dark and bitter transformations. I guess it could have even more expensive and luxurious punch? More of the same, also very aromatic. 10 out of 10 coffee, the other was 9. Yeah, I guess it has distinct transformations, said Olivia. He was pleased and pleasant. I am a bit stuck on how to change my product, unless we're talking about this smoky bourbon coffee. Change the beans, said James, out of 10 changes 1 will be good. To be honest, I'm not a very typical worker, I'm an abstract, improvising idea working worker. I would work the best in science, or constantly improving something like a rocket to space. The half of people who aren't planners are improvising through and adaptive. They do things in random directions, maximizing their energy, spontaneity. Anything with moving arms can do this job, said Napoleon. Interesting opinion. Everyone is spontaneous sometimes. I know a poison that would improve the flavor, Olivia said, suddenly detached and insane. Can you make it non-poisonous? Napoleon. No, the flavor is the poison. Okay, first we take a vacation, am I right? I have English colony Barbados rum, said Napoleon. Last time I was in English Barbados I was drunk for a month, cheap sozzled through. Stupid winds blew me to Point Petra, Harridan, the flying axeman. Olivia. Wake up in a bathtub puking tequila and glitter. I heard vampires like drinking your blood if there's rum. James. That's so random, Napoleon. With a linear brain, Olivia was insulted by this, he was however more concerned with laying on the beach and drinking rum. On a beach, next to the hut they tasted coffee. James shared the rough sunglasses he had made out of onyx and a spell and told them how to do Sudoku, 3 pretty difficult pieces he had made, he thought, considering he made them himself. They drank coffee and rum and spoke leisurely. Napoleon in many ways didn't seem relaxed, but in his mind he was, focused. He did on performance constantly, speech, sell and unite, and now he did almost subconsciously. What do you think about our competition's coffee, Napoleon? I have read the same paragraph 5 times now, you're going to have to stop talking for 2 minutes, said Olivia, his newspaper was huge. We have strong competition, James, they are brewing as per their traditions, and they are smart. Olivia. I got so drunk at one point and maybe mellow I decided to float on sea with a drink floating log, banished from bars. I didn't care wherever I would float, I found a huge marooned island, lost on maps, you can try to leave but there is an infinite amount of alcohol. Bottle and thus another bottle, masters of fencing, marooned. I thought of you a foreman of hell. I have been in many places, when old I will tell I've had a life. How long were you there? There are many places off the maps, spirals reaching the sky. There is a place further up than heaven, on different clouds here. I don't think anyone should feel grey, desolate like losing your grip, in dreams of despair, dark dreams of reality. It's not me that there's wrong with, it's the world. I cannot hold on forever, until fear becomes sedation and pain. James felt now Olivia was very relatable, he knew this world. Weiss laid on top of James' chest, small, feeling rich, fascinated and affectionate, she was a fan of James. Are you trying to get me drunk? She had to point out this exception automatically. I have never tried to get someone drunk, I think, maybe who I'm trying to get drunk is myself. Then came the rabbits, Spartacus and the golden Napoleon pelt. The rabbits quickly realized they were rabbits and flopped on the beach, all exteriors out, as they do when feeling safe and happy. Spartacus had hints of jealousy of the golden fleece. The golden rabbit is an Angora, they don't mind being cut. I made a small house and bed inside for the bed he loves me. Rabbits need friends, they light up with non-human company, like guinea pigs, could use guinea pigs. I know guinea pigs, but we can only get 100 at a time. How am I supposed to afford another golden rabbit? Do you think the rabbit wants some coffee? James presented a mug. The rabbit slurped and thought it was interesting. Strange human beverages, are the humans all like this? A bit dark, could have been less acidic with the medium strength. He looked at Olivia, then went back for more. The rabbit is going back for more, that's good coffee in it, said James. Wow, I need some caffeine thus. I learned this fluffy and conditioning hair spell, that's why I have such perfect hair, said Weiss looking like a crocambouche. Well kept up like that it looks almost like a perfect wig. With pink bubbles and cream soon the rabbits were enjoying the wash. Floof, the royal pelt looked royal as Spartacus had price-winning hair. The rabbit felt like zooming and included the other rabbit. Come here rabbit, said James to the golden fairly large 1x 0.5 by 0.5 meter rabbit. I am also knowledgeable in geography, biology and politics. Weiss. I know geography like the back of my hand. Antananarivo is the source of pineapples and Bundersari Begawan the beginning of Bacardi Benders. The most northern capital is Ottawa and southern, cold to thus Wellington. Driest desert is Atacama. Fortunately the price of water doesn't always go up so much with the population living in the desert like lunatics. There are 3 types of deserts. Governor just wants to wed me off, but I think we're powerful enough, more like a regular wedding. I am one of the geniuses of modern cosmopolitan London. How can you be a genius of history? There is nothing to write. Rewriting. Winners of history. I don't just do history, said James, going somewhere shaken, insecure. One of the secrets and weapons of hell was the living seed crystal, with time turned into a Trent. Ancient Trent Alucard, while still thicket was a Trent, he could make growth change season and wither bloom in seconds. You had to be clear, Alucard could be literal or philosophical and was about beautiful action, not words. Humanoid tree form, faceless chiseled face, he grew a red beard in the summer that turned deep blue with impatience in autumn, with Dryad's renting room. His defense could not be tested. What do they pay with? Different acorns. I like planting trees, I have the patience to watch them grow. It was crazy Alucard could turn into a 50 by 50 meter wooden estate in 30 seconds. They used this when adventuring, gathering islands on the sea, and to sleep. I shall not lit a fire. You can lit my leftovers leaves related to summer on fire, He told them to be balanced with nature, to be sustainable with environments, to return and be one with it. You are not a machine ghost. A 70 times 30 meter ship is well with rosy flowers and huge thorns where need be. Exceptionally tanky over offensive Alucard would outlive anyone 2,000 years and was resistant against everything, even fire. This is not a $2 matchbox. Although the feeling he personally disliked being on fire like being wet. He was intelligent but more mystical and wise, concerned with balance of species to nature, fit well with James. Naturistic intelligence. He had healing wisps whispering peace and hopefully didn't get squished, you know. You're leaking. It's supposed to be like that, echoed his deep, more like hard to speak voice. A hint of humor was noticed afterwards. Folk that would usually like visiting Alucard were sprites, lightly dressed deep blue and light green spirits related and allied to elves. Dryads, again, and druids. Alucard, a squirrel told me it is always safe gathering nuts for winter. He had spots on him for rosebushes and blueberries. Makes me smell nice as well, I make antioxidants against the sun and enzymes against bacteria. You humans eat this to be the healthiest? I wouldn't eat you. Not vegan enough answer. A ship's Arizadanet came around the rocks firing. Everyone seemed to have a wooden leg, maybe because the captain did. They won't like this molten giant bombard, they said, but as they fired Alucard morphed into a Trent form, he launched with his crew, grappling to the side. His strong arms broke the wood around their mast savagely, tilting it into the sea. A pirate whacked a rum bottle, Havana Club Q, and lit it intelligently on fire on his back. Alucard was deeply startled and pushed his right oak arm into his stomach, then expanded until he was a human mace. The human mace exploded into a cutlass person and the blood extinguished the fire. Alucard fought fiercely, a temper of the tree ants. They got hit like by trees falling over, houses collapsing, unsafe construction sites. They put a giant bombard against Alucard again, but James thought with arrogant fire magic to make it explode inside the barrel. The pirates exploded like vulnerable to explosives. James was cornering Captain Double Legs. He was a fat pirate with excellent defense, cutlass and black braided beard. He had one wooden leg. Captain Double Legs. James and Double Legs aimed and fired a black powder pistol at the same time. Double Legs had a stronger gun and it hit James sloppily in the shoulder.
Shut up!
Skillfully Double Legs shifted into a more defensively absolute unit, more black, and his piercing thrusts would have gone through someone else's. He had threatening overhead slashes and at his feet. James caught his foot in a rope going upwards with the mast, but he cut it across. James had to really overpower him, and just there's always a more skilled swordsman, he had to take things up a gear. James bellowed had ORSOF that knocked him back. He lost his cutlass and flipped him about and cut through his pants in a 12-cut strike. He got a worse weapon instead and looked ready to defend his life. Begone ere our baguettes fly. Shiver me Italian whiskey. I can pierce any pirate's cutlass defense, you are in lethal range of my muskets. He raised his cutlass a final time, but James gathered piercing power and railgunned it. The explosion was like something unbelievable alien and it changed the colors and hue. All right, we surrender. They were Italians from New Florence. Follow me to the cabin. A gold overflowing to the roof, well in just coin, rum and Italian whiskey. Walter cabin. Every pirate who had fit into the room took a glass and sipped. They were considered now for this diplomacy, so related to necromancy, they were frisk and cheeky yet considered with reaches of manner like one can have without being very intelligent, not for long anyway. Only a real ENTP gets annoyed at the lack of true diplomacy in debates or politics. You have a scraggly, dirty quartermaster, he is drunk asleep and yet insulting thus. Insulting a man's scraggly quartermaster is worse than insulting his ship. I see you have loot here from the French, should have banked. Spare us half the rum and whiskey and we'll give you the location of the treasured dead ivory. It's around here somewhere. I've seen it. You've seen the chest or all its marks. No, I think I've seen the horns of the demon. Everyone was taken aback yet solid in logic. We shall take the French cheese and coffee, said Napoleon Reblicon. Smells like mimolette. Yeah it does, said James. He ate a rectangle like chewing of carrot by a beaver. This is stupid, how'd I steal against people now? Italian accent, I have got to make a living. Yeah, you can forget stealing from the French now, said James, inspecting a wineglass robust. We're the strongest muscle, I've beaten several dragons and raided Dragon's Nest. Dragon's Nest. The Italians in the room danced superstitiously and spit 3 times. There was spit everywhere. No grave but the sea. Better to shit in the sink than sink in the shit. What? Under the seas no one wears hats. We need diplomacy between Italia France now or there shall be invasione, invasion proclaimed double eggs. The islands were busy making the best coffee, some with the same price of produce, which is just capitalistic insanity, unless people weren't willing to pay. They had scientists and caffeine addicts analyze the perfect coffee. A broad area for research was crossbreeding beans, which James would now uptake. Cross beans, why not just mix them straight in the coffee, James said. Another insight was any coffee tastes twice as good if you have drunk for 3 to 4 days, you're addicted. The flavor becomes exalting and golden. Let's breed some new flavors with genetics. Cheap and flavored filters he came up with, flavored coffee like with aromas he remembered from the future. He thought of inventing a coffee that tasted like a dessert, just the right coffee flavor and you added sugar and cream. Now what would that be? Something already rich and fat, James decided. James introduced Napoleon to iced coffee or coffee with sugars or sweetness. He promised his people were completely addicted by this. Cold coffee is just dessert flavor orientation, Napoleon said. I feel like I'm mixing cake. We don't have to. It can just be bitter and fat flavors. Anyway, caramel can be combined with chocolate and dark coffee. I thought caramel for aristocrat kids. They might be good customers. Olivia and me are working on a special coffee oat milk frosted to -90 Celsius. We'll cool down the coffee with less, maximum coffee taste. I like my coffee mixed with milks until sweeter. Strawberry raspberry chocolate coffee and chocolate and kiwis fruity coffee. What about ground salted pretzels? Make any shape you'd like, mate. James went water skating. It was a lot like ice skating. You moved the same over the water with pretty expensive, also magical, dwarven devices. When far enough in Les Saints Lagoon he could fish crabs and sea urchins. Sea urchins were always so upset when taken away or beaten, so confident in their defense, crunching with their white-like beaks. There are like lawnmowers against starfish and plants under the sea. Here infestations unbalance the equation. He met a meter-long surface anglerfish, red, white, and green eyes, so ugly like it had its face punched in. It was cool though and let him pick urchins. James enjoyed the heat swimming slowly in the crystal clear water and saw their holy coral reefs, not damaged yet. Later in the day after Olivia's spicy crab sushi, James went for pirate revolver duels, a gambling western-like game. 2 pirates enter in a downed wooden arena, the one that pulls and shoots his revolver first and hits harder head wins. The bullets are seafoam rubber. James practiced and practiced, had lightning skills. He usually won because of his cat-like reflexes, but people here at Surly Boots Pharmacy Gambling and Accounting didn't have normal reflexes. He confided in the shipwright, heard rumors from the barman and got slapped by a servitor. He got a drink reliable and made for him for free. He met Captain Forehead. There are ships that insists on faring these waters, cognac cogs of contemporary coin. The British are barely pirates. The profit must be worth it. They are like frog eggs being eaten by lobsters. You must take their alcohol, spiffing. The trick is to convert their redcoats with terrible conditions and flagging for every vocacious flaunt. He had 3 eye patches with his 4 eyes and being half runic Harridan, the merchant and banker race, he had blue horns. He was as beefy as James yet more compact and connected. His forehead looked like a brick was protruding. Your forehead isn't just for show, is it natural? I don't know, Harridans black out easily from alcohol. Makes me ram heads like a genius. My gang the drowned pirates are hardy and true saltwater sweating decapes. I would go with them into an endless journey of lucrativeness. Maybe you will. Yes, my forehead is natural. This is not the first person you ask that, is it? The English are reinforcing their redcoats. It might not actually be worth it to broadside or sink ships. You must board and make them surrender quickly, wipe the deck with superior brawling. I must tie them to the mast and surrender their colors, to sell a ship unhurt to shipwrights in a pirate port. To shoot the cannons yet not hurt the design. Maybe just disarm their cannons with magic or shoot them in the barrel. Could use culverins for that, couldn't you? They don't do any damage, do they? You have room on your ships for a few extra cannons. There are falconets on my ship, horse artillery, French heavy cannons not designed unless for a siege. Where are the horses from your horse artillery? He didn't answer him annoyingly but instead said, I want to find the 4 treasures in the giant temple dungeons of the natives. Their rum is fair and lucrative, to make an entire island system French from the barbarian, make myself governor and surround myself with the most excellent Harridans. I don't feel true allegiance to the French being a personality of the sidelines. I mean I am conscious of it yet make a decision to remain on the sidelines every conversation. It is succulent subconscious. I am an ENTP pirate too. I went to the personality seer. She is never wrong, just concerned with your role in a obedient society. The sidelines are intellectual and the dreams intellectually ambitious. I feel so free in the emotions of my dreams, a reality true and pure to motivate me on my quests. Your quest to brawl in every French bar? How's that going? I had to pay to fix the carnival bar, doesn't matter. I was ready to goon being versed and slapping grins like someone stupid. You're a brute and stupid and Phil Sophie? I am stupid in my decisions. You say you are stupid but you don't mean it. Maybe you shouldn't listen to haunting Harridans and belligerent brutes. You're right, you can see my intelligence and I can too. I am not used to following my edges and details, maybe it will improve my Bardcore album. Bardcore album? There needs to be another, more forehead hours, the history of the wrinkles. You could call it forehead core, certainly not the worst core genre ever conceived, surmised. Sears tell of metalcore and deathcore, the whiniest proceedings, cowardly riffs and tear-jerking falling down the stairs, fattest ugliest singers. If you are a fat ugly deathcore growler you sing better actually, just listen to. The critics will all unite against the core, it will change music as we love and know it. The apple is good except for the core, it did spawn alien core through, reasoned James, being fair and in his library of knowledge. What's that? Walls are closing in deathcore with alien themes, you are brutal if you like it. Captain Forehead was much like Nathan Explosion. I was turned into a chicken for 10 years, gotten quite used to grasslands and sitting on a perch, did you know? I wouldn't have pressed the issue. I was trying to rid the Dark Wizards of their tower and dungeon of forgotten task list. They said it would be impossible to access the final room, I listened to my greed. Count your success, don't spend the treasure too fast. I get nervous when I am not in a dungeon. I want to fight you in the name of slapping. No you don't, you are a gym personality type, but you cannot beat a Harridan Inn as true as a bar is made of wood or brick. He meant it. A game of arm wrestling, if I win you have to tell me your ambition. You can't always say the philosophy of reality and gritty no intuition is superior. They were powerful and shouldery, it seems no arms went much in any direction, if the power could be...
Hej Karolina! Jaha. Kan du släppa av Hedda om vi kollar på film kanske? Nej. Ja, jag märkte när jag skulle... Ja. Det måste vara ganska illa för er med mycket snö och sen halka. Eller hur är det? Ja. Ja. Och hej då.
They were powerful and shouldery, it seems no arms went much in any direction, if the power could be converted into a slap, someone would have been grievously injured. The size and logistics of their arms like hard for an imagination, a game of the most sturdy gym git grit. Someone would have said I can beat, but they were no less giant in heart. Do you want to give up? Yeah, this seat is hard on my ass like a rock. The stop like the aftermatch could rip someone's hand off and going deep into limits of their body, like where someone can go too far. A week later he had faced up the quickest drawers one after one with 900% interest. It was shorter to aim your pistol to the heart than head, he thought. Despite bullets being rubber, he thought of ideas of different one-shotters that really one-shot. James found himself in a free-for-all. How do you figure this out? It's just like a bunch of nomads fight over a gold pit. Don't be aggressive, the more are, let them fight themselves. Monologue about diplomacy. Undead Rapscallion tentacle face fell down in smoke as he clutched his stomach. James after practicing duels had gotten his reflexes down to 15 milliseconds. Bugger, bugger, quadruple wanker, bugger. Congratulations, you beat Rapscallion in the house, take this dwarven hellclast, face remover. A heavy, long shotgun-looking pirate revolver with mahogany wood and half the metal plated and some corals was given. Still long reload. No need to fight as this blows off their face, just like on the label. Maybe there comes a second sea dog. Fixed shot pattern, well a rectangle, magical elven crystal blue flue powder with magical battery French Dutch. I'll conserve my energy like the dead on a couch. 1 of 15 pieces of 8. Drunk on shots, Dutch captain failed to complete his sentence once, then said, down with arrogant French coffee. And shot a pirate pistol under the table. Let's try this. James in just absolute unit shining black then aimed the hellclast fully reaching his face. Kablam. The clast made a huge blue explosion and the captain laid face smoking feet up in the bar. Hooray, the bar went in and started drinking again. It's the Irish rum that separates us from animals. A pirate twacked a whiskey bottle over his head like lounging. James took the long orange spitz drink and went observing the capybara island, part hot tub, part overgrowing island next to the bar stools. The capybaras loved the hotness and had oranges on their heads. James would drink yet focus on gather information, learning about latest shipwriting and add-ons like the bronze far-reaching new cannon, dismelling crew spells and a slippery soap on the outside bottle, new hammocks technology for confined breed. Both England and Italia both worked on the biggest 5-cannon vertical row ships that would be sure to destroy anything. They toiled intelligently, spending every buck careering in shipwriting. Are you sure, Jimmy James lad? Paragallos, the British colony, has never been so illegally tempting weak and rich. Plunder awaits like a rum bottle floated home. James convinced every honest pirate to attack, putting the Paragallo's defense on its heels. Almost as many men, they survived most the pirates and were licking their wounds as French ship of the line Genevieve with 48 guns and French flags turned the corner. They had 2-star shooters as well, Black Dwarven super heavy bombards. The super bombard cut up the docks and base defense. It was just cannon fire that had to be won through. They had to tank shots from the long-range defense towers. They had towers with cannons for about a minute. French pirates came charging from the bottom with a cannon rolled. Red-coated heavy musketeers bayoneted and formed versus pirates with one-shot revolvers. Servants of English pints. They were well-mannered not to hurt too many civilians, used to this game and went straight for the governmental buildings and governor. A beautiful hourglass brunette Olivia, governor's daughter, said, "Bloody pirates," as they approached British high culture. "She is so rich her freckles are gold." James went, "Look, there's a governor's daughter, don't shoot." She was pushed into the group, struggling thus into James' arms. "I won't be rough, you're safe around my biceps," proclaimed towering James, looking down. Pirates might have ripped jewelry off her neck. "I'm exceedingly cactus jackass Jack. Shove a cannonball up your cunt, James. Help me, less thick accented French guy. I am a mercenary and pirate. This is the most dangerous time to be a government's daughter, even more than choosing the coffee room decor." Out came the main military and treasure guards. They were dressed in red and white British colors, some hard leather, some steel cuirass and axes, some blue and white Scottish. On they fought with bombardment of pistols, cannons rolled forwards and caught many people in the stomach. Fierce piracy was met with guarding nationalism, sword fights were long as everyone just blocked. Pirates winning went 2-on-1. They were fencing armorless pirates, except for the sentinel pirates, having magical and steel armor mix. Our quartermaster Jeremy was making mincemeat and empanadas of the enemy, carrying a new hand cannon, more cannon than hand cannon. He was an elite pirate. James punched people into the air. They were honest spectacles of red and white and would all land at the same time. James saw the governor in the background, fat and in a green silky suit. James used his teleport powers, short-ranged and low on stamina, to the surprise of the governor. "For the money," James said like an accountant and plucked the man under his arm like lightweight. "I'll pay you 1,000 quid if you abduct me somewhere safe." "Oh dear, we have not protected any new resource. We focused on beautiful growth." "Can you pay 10 times more?" said James, surprisingly negotiable. "A side-switching mercenary? Well, I'm not prepared to pay more than 2,000. I'm not worth it." "Good to have an honest opinion," James went on to his pirates. "I always wanted to have a wig like this," said a thin triangle-jawed pirate and nicked his hair. "You look beautiful." "Lock him in the captain's room," said the pirate quartermaster and rumkeep. "I want to be imprisoned with my father," said the daughter. "Seal them in together, and prevent their impending escape. We don't want to lose any leverage," said James like a real ENTP pirate, like Jack Sparrow is portrayed, thorough and confusing. The intuition makes sense to them like correlated math. Jens had farted so bad the governess' shirt buttons all unbuckled, his suit and garments all split, his hair turned unkempt and greasy. He was speechless. The captain of the guard blocked their way into the treasure vault, which was in a white guard tower. He too had a fancy shirt and a white wig with an opulent rapier. "I am a master fencer, riddle me a man full of holes." Thus they fenced as speedily as the eye can see. James was busy with his light weapon, the stabbing rapier, and thought to grab a sword next time and cut through. "Silly little thing, better freeze it. Why don't you trip over some dicks? Did you know fencing with rapiers is called fencing with dicks?" "Have a nice trip," he said like he was firing him from a cannon. Oof. Olivia had sealed the deal by picking up a cannonball and throwing it into the stomach of the captain. James thought there was no sound, but it looked like it had been fired from a cannon. Olivia then picked him up with 2 arms, then slapped him with his 2 others until submission. "I give up." The circular keep was gilded with treasure, resources that could be turned into coffee, wine, whiskey, chocolate and cigars, blue Jamaican. "I can stand smoking these if I can have Cuban later," said Olivia. "Please, my beloved, I am supposed to protect the governor's daughter." "Put him into a cannon," said James with an insane eye. In the Coffee Bean Islands there were magical man cannons, Black Dwarven of course, that could shoot someone a quarter across the islands but didn't shoot destructive cannonballs as a resort. The captain got shuffled ass first, only hands and feet sticking out. "French people cannot make coffee h. He screamed in fear. And almost instantly he was shot onto Chinese waters. The cannon didn't make much sound but left blue light powder in the air. "Quite a mouth on that one," said Olivia. "Yeah, did you hear he was charming the gov daughter," responded James. Then he went to charm the governor's daughter. James didn't sell the place to France but the Spanish, and when they had settled in they raided everything again, took their treasure vault pretending to be penniless corsairs. Some of the treasure was still being shipped, so they found the treasure line and boarded them. Leaving the treasure ships intact, slow but well armed, and sold them, and then finally made it a new French outpost. Joining them on the raids freely was Pirate Blackbeard. He looked goaty and goated, young and undamaged. He had hints of greatness but his deeds were not yet done. He didn't have a blackbeard through, everyone called him thus, but he had the widest black mustache going to his ears like knives instead and black stubble. Enemies seemed to fall before him like rag dolls as he had 1 pistol more and stabbed for them thus. "You're too brutal, Blackbeard, so you cannot wrench the world, you know." What devious plot did he have, ready to move the territories? He will be known as the deadly slaughter mist who only moved when he had to. The next day the governor's daughter seemed to leave him for her main gig. She had been poor to communicate. They were perfect for each other, just like the rich can be slick. Our fates have been intertwined, but never braided. Damn it, I need someone whose secrets doesn't hurt me. James practiced his teleporting but also saved some mana on the bigger jumps with vials. He found Sabrina concerned and fascinated with the post office on Earth. First I teleported to Schmed and Shekels Banks by accident. Do you want to join me on Nagas and Coves? I have been waiting for an adventure like this, sure, she smiled. He felt really good overstimulated hugging her, but at least it wasn't nervous perverse like you can get from depression. She was endearing and cute, pink death too as always. She had reshaped her horns. James didn't know you could do that with a popular haircut spell, into 1 decimeter straight then slightly curved back horns. Cut 8 times slightly like a garlic baguette. Enter French coffee base. Rebluchon said, are you safe with population and animals? I do expect nothing bad from you, James interjected half confident. If you're a good person you're always in control. I have to say James, you procured the hottest from the dating show. Fancy, said Sabrina. Fancy, said James. Wow, this tastes so much better than the burnt Italian stuff in hell, I don't have to force it down. Like coffee, like a cute habit, but I have never tasted something delicacy. Some go their entire life without delicacy coffee. Here's an idea, James said as a ENTP, an automatic reheating spell with the coffee. We should sell it as a machine maybe. What about a tasteless reheating cube, said Olivia. What about putting the coffee mug on a reheating platform shaped like commercials? Get on it. I think I will go on a treasure hunt and get rid of the siren in the cove. She's eating our crew and transportation. Yes, she keeps eating the mail runners and lighter ships. If you go on Friday I will clear it as working hours. They went through the beach of bodybuilders. There was a wide-shouldered view of, well, everyone looked the same. There were gym bros, female beefy athletes that were exposed to so many egos, views. Like the tropical birds, not to mention those in proximity, they were all dancing, getting no response. They sold pirate protein shakes with rum and pirate protein bars. The boothman fitted in, giving charm and trustworthiness, thus he looked just like the others. They surrounded them. James wondered first why he felt such intimidating energy, but then he realized it was because they were going for Sabrina. How are you doing in this fine weather, ma'am? He was a bulky pirate. He had top 1% strength genetics and fitting endurance because he was so broad, the impression of a boxer too big. Do you want a protein shake? They asked James. James was like, am in a proper state. It has been half a day and I have only eaten 100 grams of protein. He pitched the pitcher from the side and downed 100 grams frantically, gulping like a seagull. He thought of carbohydrates, not like a fattening pasta or soluble fiber, but as a fuel for his muscles to work, like it was the only fuel. He should have thought it is not as noticeable, it is not a slathering of honey nor very exceeding while exceeding diet. But he had been gymming on a calorie deficit, sharpening abs like a baguette by a mustache blacksmith, barely fitting into the apron. It is as painful as fever in the joints. Maybe he should have thought he gets used to it. At some point the resistance is like a faint thought. To walk or run to lose weight on a calorie deficit is more like getting used to distance running, or running at all, the sedation of layers getting used. That's what James had done. Being a stomping, crunching running is getting used to the layers of resistance, until an hour is just a number, and the arrogance is increasing your weekly load. Did you know me and the boys are the biggest here? There were secondary short haircuts double sides boys, considerable like another B-movie. I doubt that, you need to prove it by getting me 100 sea urchins. I'm not stupid, you're only saying that to get rid of me. For some reason, he said this with confidence. You have small calves. He scurried away like someone had insulted his ship. The stubble-side wide-faced degenerate friend didn't say anything, he looked at him with slacks. They entered a skull 11 by 11 meters mouth of Maui cut out over a cove next to Bawana Island. We might see the Weddell seal. Seal the deal with a zealous seal. Of course it's an underwater entrance. They emerged slimy against wandering long-armed jellyfish. On land they walked on meter-long 2 arms and stunned mercilessly with the third. As they came and stunned James he channeled it with lightning magic, then retorted in a blast that sundered them all, loud like cracking sky. I hear of nasty greater green variants, monstrous jellyfish, laying dormant as a trap, with something like sight. Sabrina hugged James, attracted by the adventure. You are one big muscly deadly conduit. She saw through his brains, through not just his physique, she didn't know it but was maybe as smart, a real clever succubus. There was a catacomb of doors, halls and rooms. But plenty of beautiful colors. There were corals on the walls, fishes of all colors of the rainbow. Those are some big sea urchins. They blocked the exit 1 by 1 meters in a room of varying sizes, purple and black they crawled, worryingly, industrious. If you speed up a camera you see they are concerned like a predator, delicious salty taste of the sea. I can detonate them, said Sabrina knowledgeable. Drink this overload monovial. Succubuses are really good at fire magic. Soon every 1 meter sea urchin detonated like a minefield. Don't detonate my nuts, James said like a squirrel. In the next room were giant clams. Based on your strength you could get the treasure. Watch this. With monstrous strength James opened one just with his arms, shaky arms. They're sapphire and emerald in small rectangles. The next 2 rooms were desolate and empty, then another one with a 10-meter clam. This one wouldn't budge like a goat. I can't get it open. That's one hell of a pinch. James charged blood magic for 30 seconds then. Kebab after a drunk Wednesday strength. He wrenched open the clam half a meter, it sounded like wrought steel. Do you want to get in there? That pearl is opulent. Succubus suction, she said mischievously. The half-meter pearl was sucked. In a room they could silver insects like a flying larva with pipe mouth. Kitchen destroyers. This nasty bug will suck out your mana and stamina. There was a pool of hammerhead sharks, hammerhead in a cross and tail that is a Swiss knife. Called bottle opener sharks. They had to traverse the water was for some scrupulous purpose for the fishmen, they didn't seem to bothered by the party, they swam gliding like ghosts. There was a black, white 5 meters pufferfish that they were anxiously, laser-focused, watching deeply. It was breathing nervously but didn't engage. The other sharks feared it like cowardly, beyond how brave it was perhaps. In an even longer corridor they met thick fishmen with circular saw hands and anglerfish heads. You will fall before the siren. These treasures are to lust you before our den. Don't fight me, I am the supreme slayer Atlatl. We trust in your build, you must be enhanced, normal humans don't go above that muscle level. One of them had balls that seemed to breathe like gills hanging on his face cheeks. Where is the siren anyway? Keep going east. They gave it away with his casualness. A few rooms later, after blubber jellyfish and poisonous shelled snails they met 2 fishmen carrying a treasure chest heavy. We promise we didn't kill any men. Wonder if they did, thought Sabrina as she lit everything on fire. They smoldered and engulfed in flame like leaves. Fire tsunami. Great, put the chest in my magically confined bag, I can feel something now through. They fought a giant crab humanoid with crab arms so muscular that they were crippling his heart. They carried from the west. Enter Siren's room. They came upon a huge beautiful crusty ship in a 150 by 150 meter room. It seemed sunken and fit 5 times as many animals, including barnacles. The 25 meters high, 25 by 100 meter ship was gargantuan. I welcome you to Moby Dick, your treasure will gleam as will your intestines. A 4-meter maiden, an attractive pale mermaid-looking siren, looked upon them with a trident. She had a light starfish haircut and large nude breasts. I blocked any attempts for her to get into your mind. I think I'm gonna study magic of the mind, James said conversationally. I am your reckoning siren, your stealing and rupture have attracted me. She blew in her conch but James' mind was barely addled. Bigger fish frontline clothesline, James whacked the siren in the neck and she hit the ship. She hit James fist for fist with her left hand trying to win with her trident, she was strong. She deflected flame wave with her spinning trident from Sabrina which made James charge fire magic. He charged and lightened his surroundings until they centered in him jumping, scientific method C4. James blasted like a star, everything was surprisingly explosive thus. ARRRRRGH the siren let out a beautiful scream and covered her face. Seared she flooded the room with water with her trident, what was she going to do now? Like a shark she turbo-jetted trying to cut them trident first. It turned hard to see. Darn she got to the succubus. James felt the danger of his weaker friends dying or in danger, like a project you need to micromanage. Sabrina used her strong succubus muscles, fierce like deceit, pulling a flaming cutlass she parried the trident, through she was weaker, they slashed and parried 3 times, the beautiful display was winning through throwing their weapons left and right. The mermaid jetted like giant cannons 5 times and hit the party. James generated super plasma gluon lightning. It was quite difficult but soon caught the siren gasping for air and pain. The lightning lit the surrounding water on fire the entire way, it melted the siren like chocolate butter. Turns out the spell waned, the siren was an old hag with a double chin. The room flushed the water out like a toilet. I feel dead inside, said James, like a old school cheap horror story. Striped black and white snakes, dead animals. I only enjoy half. Chapter. Songs of Isolation. A hill to die upon, that's what I want with a little more of putting up with things, giving up as there's a new breeze of requirements and needs. A worthy totem and crystallation, fading into wind like sand. James had a tendency to be a depressed genius through, or stay just above depressed. It had been shocking like the finest, most profound art in the world the first time, as much feeling as one can take with old forgotten promises now spiritual. The past is caught put dire to James McKivery, just leave me be, I'll wait things out. Bit strange maybe how some confidences stick, but to find unyielding confidence, coming to insight in depression is a good idea. Depression haunts intelligent people, a tendency to blame yourself, extra weight, bit senseless guiltiness. The past had haunted him until this, he needed to have it good before it could surface, what he had was not real stability. Like brain damage through an arrow in the head, James cared not but indulge in entertainment and food. It was too hard to take care of yourself, the weight was oppressive, who cared about anything he had to do. Being treated so substandardly in his life, he now had to slowly figure out if he was good enough. I am going to live for the last fun I'll ever have. I'll keep up the work for other people, Napoleon. He didn't feel much right now, to be honest, like a melancholic sitcom, you'd think it feels good not to feel, but it is saddening. He had anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure, some were fleeting. You chase it but don't get it. He felt something from eating and engaging in games, so that's what he did. Exploring like an art connoisseur, sometimes addicted to wrong timings, but he had to keep going. Depression can be hard to recover fully from, to not exist in the gray world, one foot in the personal delusion, like a presumptuous psychology theory. There is not just antidepressing things but maybe pills increasing learning speed, brain boosters. Many spend their entire life still partly in the dark world with anhedonia, like damage to the brain. It is still a natural phenomenon. The feeling spelled separation anxiety even before someone left, but it was only about so few people. James realized it must be some past trauma before he could remember. The alcohol tasted so good it brought him to tears, like life was no more, the Loire and the fiery Alsace, keep going, another drink, the time was thus, now he felt what he always missed. Maybe others could reason his behavior made a lot of sense, it was excellent wine. Card games meant a lot, they could satisfy him sometimes everything was just a mess inside, like someone who needed help. Sometimes he didn't know what to feel. He questioned if he was fake. Maybe faking 5% doesn't even matter, it's just a conscious function leading somewhere honest anyway 50% of the time. Was he good enough? Was he a drag that just needed to be executed? Yes, I think I am good enough to exist, to live, and he would not question it again. A king in my own mind. Was he a man or mouse? These questions are old and for an insecure teenager surfacing again because of the burning of finite candles. Once he had less of everything he had followed his good sides bravely, flowing on brilliance, positivity, reaching spiritually. This is more easy as you are able, and normal. Was he confident a man, compared to the realest men, surely? A person should know himself so well he needs no consciousness to shake anything off. So easy to build a confidence and stability in the waves of random events that may come, you just need encouragement and not every group animal to be dismissive. Independence builds the character no matter the circumstances. Would people not accept a nerdy thinker? Who was it who didn't he shouldn't have asked? I understand its feelers and their own insecurities who dismiss nerdy thinkers, desperate to make borders. Deep inside himself he had always found a shelter early, like a cocoon of youth, a safe place ultimately untouchable. Even depressed his first time he had an iron confidence in himself to be able to accomplish all his Iron Man goals, unextinguishable, what mortal could ever break this force? It is still motivation like the end of times, like things have to be bad. It was a dance of egoism and materialistic nothing, performance of hubris and deficiency of magnesium that got him depressed again. Prominent like a poison by a haughty assassin, entropy of the brain. It's 5 times more clear the week before he got it. A dangerous game he played now, he could lose every card in his hand. But he had always been calm in these serious situations. He had also turned melancholic until every movement and thought was pierced by black retarding ice. Something that would be resistant to treatment he. Better not stay too long in this hopeless stability for the remaining light will gut you until you are left with nothing. You get one day in the sun. Antidepressants he remembered aren't strong enough on their own, you need to do multiple things like run consistently, add antidepressant coconut water, eat healthy, no saturated fat. Or good enough things would happen that lifted him out. If only that could happen. He didn't completely get out of his first depression in 4 years when he was 15 to 19. How unproductive he was, how stupid, because brilliance flows on positive emotions and confidence. And depression could come back in the future as long as he wanted to be accomplished in the hardest way for him, a perfect citizen in a perfect critique. You have to settle for what you can do, even if the worst. To exist in how you thought you had to be versus even a long allowance of who you actually are. Depression is being unable to play a role other people want. You can see this crux as people try for more and more change than they are able. There was a finite feeling, he didn't care, the pain would stop, the aggravation of life, it would all end, death greets you warm for your hardship. His family in the future wouldn't know. They probably thought he would pop up any day and be sarcastic, he existed for them like an artist, commenting emotion and demanding angles. He did have unfinished paintings, unfinished crushes and promises of intelligence. He had a different, more awkward relationship for his family, a conversation building on expectations on yourself and promises, maybe a cute ship showed because his mother, the limits of mother's sensitivity and hearty extroverted group management. Maybe he should think of how first, he needed to search for aliens. He had gained 50 kilograms of fat to his bulky body, oh dear. How does that even happen? One day at a time, you can have the most infinite will-controlled eating. He ate to live, he really did, but the interesting thing that was he was a gourmand, he picked meal and meal, drink and savored the taste, to him it was the food of the gods for real and true. Chasing the sacred and unhealthy wrong choice bready cheesy flavors of a lasagna or a little bit spicy too, sugar and cream, wine and draft. He wanted gumbo and red wine, buff bourguignon, goulash soup and meteor broth. We can see the high energy and muscle makes you crave the food. Comically his mind held onto the taste of goulash soup like the most sensible idea. Like healthy, or self-sustaining. He craved sushi and ordered every item on Indian menus, and many at a time. He got other people with him to eat the menus in these eating challenges. Muscle balloons and fat blobs. 100 sushi pieces was reached. James wondered if we could drink the entire barrel of throwaway stew they had, gulping at the bottom of the barrel at Rapier & Sons. This time didn't shove away friends for odd interests or reject women for degeneracy, despite the world shunning him one intolerant shoulder at a time, when it was really awful he couldn't shake the fact he was agreeable just like them. He was just a nerd, a thinker. There be hamburgers expensive and elevated, Italian pasta dishes not focused on protein. Mashed potatoes like Golden Lakes, baguette with delicacy hard cheeses. First he didn't notice he was getting bigger, it was just angles, a trick of the light, something that didn't count. Unwrapping a cookie goddammit, it's just a cookie, doesn't count towards my calorie diet. Quote, bodybuilder Rich Piana, sitting hurt his back and walking wasn't just walking, he had been buff his entire life. Oh no I turned fat in it, fried tacos. Burp. Just let yourself go, said Arnaud, who knows if this was a helpful mindset, he tripped over his mental legs for sure some way thus. But he was so muscular that he looked very similar it was just the stomach, a real 16 months beer pregnant gut. Thanes looked like this, and some orcs.
You can Google it.
He noticed he was slower and it was harder to dodge, but he was stronger, mass moves mass, he was like a ferocious giant slamming down ungodly power. Unbelievable, his peers exclaimed, he moved so well, seamlessly, dangerously. He picked up his old exercising and it was still doable, just like you can get used to carrying a heavy backpack, just tough in the beginning. Some 1 repetitions records were recorded, top 1% genetics makes for an interesting period being fat. The biggest part of being fat is the extroverted acting, the opinions of others and sight. It was a test, now he had to prove himself to others all the time, he was no longer just fine the way he was and he had to tank the most elaborate, speaking of peers, or entitled assholery. Feelings of being okay met by piercing egoist elitism in the vanity wavelength. It's great talking to other fat people, it's like a secret society, everything is with less presumption. And if you were wondering how dating is going to go now, there's your answer, other fat people. A little bit his body seemed to allow for more thought, but especially feelings, and patience with the feelings of others. His voice was stronger and different, he had genius spare energy now because he was so genetic. Some ideas clicked genius as he said them but he didn't always figure out why. James had explored exercising while being fat, like a sumo wrestler. He still went for long runs, arms were no problem gymming while he sat down, he was strong now for the first time to contest even Olivia, which was a source of great pride actually. He had worked hard on his speed technique now and could almost phase out of reality and sight from others, although it felt like he was carrying something unstable. He tried running a marathon again, and he could do it. It was intensity training this time, only the last hour was tough. He chose to walk 3 minutes every hour because that's how long it takes for the heart to recover from this strenuous exercising. He loved food, and he had an appetite that was 200% of his size. What he was to do in the future now was to choose the time to do it sparingly. Is being fat okay? That's a good question for a time like depression. Ouch, do you tolerate fat? He had always enjoyed talking to thick, girthy people in the gym and now maybe he would be rewarded for his tolerance. He had indeed never moralized fat in a spiteful way being a gym bro. Just encouraging the journey, it's just mass. James thought it was as a measurement of size or shape, philosophically very fine, but it had objectively some points minus for health that could not be argued away. Something he would consider for himself now, can't shake the cholesterol problems, cancer, blood sugar and blood pressure unless vegan. Getting fat after 40 is so bad against the most common 15 killers that doctors think it's one of the worst things you can do, you live 4 to 8 years less on average. Anything unhealthy needs to be stopped before it is time, that's the reality. Last he noticed gaining 50 kilograms of fat mostly had changed his voice, more assertive and convincing, grand and glorious he sounded egregious and could push his voice deep and operatic. That must be what those opera singers were looking for. He didn't care he was going to die fat, no consequence. Maybe there's a pointed rapier from a fancy swordsman? Disaster. New Paris colony is being prosecuted by Abraham the Testicle Torsion Wizard. He is here to settle the times. Deep blue and white magical ship echoed with fire and thunder and they drew close. They had a ship of the line with 48 guns and 2 Ottoman bombards, lightning cracked the sky, triple cannons that fire a volley every time an allied pirate dies.
I can't say that.
That's a proper ship. It's no Dutch bark, carrying goods and getting board-sided. This was no half-hearted invasion, they were gonna wipe their ass with their flag and take a shit on their lawn. They drew near with their own ships but Abraham sealed their cannons with blue sticky fudge like magic. I can shoot cannonballs through my ass, best in my class, said Yensid quietly but confidently. They loaded up Yensid from behind, he bent over and started shooting cannonballs like railguns, they crushed the enemy ship and would be good enough in the bombardment of the broadsides. Teleport me over, James was feeling pissed. Napoleon teleported a group over before they could broadside. James was taking out the unfairness of life by taking his enemy Spanish out. Poor souls, as long as he felt spite James reached new records of violence, he fought excellently but emotional, like begging to get shot by an arbalist. If you want my mind you're going to have to fucking kill me. Inspired by the barbarians he did a boxing whirlwind, anyone who got hit flew off the ship. Abraham will show you where your new testicles are. Look at this testicle torsion amateur, I will show you how to outclass thus, Yensid said quietly to James. Testicle torsion, Abraham cast upon Yensid. Mackenzie's butthole removal, Yensid said echoing. The torsion stopped through its counter. No, not my ass, I can't feel a thing. Please, I need to go to the bathroom already I think, I'm going to turn into a balloon while eating tacos. Starts inflating. I cast, no beard thus, and an operable brain tumor. Oh god no stop, please. He's begging me to stop, said Yensid like a superhero. I cast stanky leg, silly walks. Broken walking stick. You're going too far as a wizard. He tried to curse him back. I curse you, to be always incoherent while talking to women. Where I come from wizards cast, your Wi-Fi, connected, no internet, said James. I cast, a minute of constipation. This is too much, I'm so uncomfortable. I cast, large-handed square prostate exam. I curse you with, female mustache. Every day you will remove it and every day it will grow back. I cast, minute of savagery. Abraham started biting nearby pirates in the shoulder. Impotence impetious. His balls turned into cannonballs, Abraham sat down on his hands instantly. Cruelty is a matter of perspective. Constipated is a matter of perspective. What? Sabrina addled his mind, weakening him for a combo. Unholy Horizons sky uppercut, You could hear him getting hit by a punch, but then he was instantly gone, flying 200 meters per second, who knows where or when he would land. Up to the Caribbean maybe. Now it was up to beat the rest of the crew. James took a breath as he dived through the floor, beating up every specialized cannoneer. Sumo slap and sumo collider. He defied physics. Sabrina was playing with firefighting many expert pirates. She exerted expanding inferno waves, summoned fire hydras and critically headshot with fireballs. Pirates that tried to resist magic, she ran away to another deck, leaving inferno trails in her wake. One pirate was a half mage, but she got into his mind and completely blacked him out like a psychologist about maybe working theory. Jensen jumped and ground pounded, his ass crunch being stronger than the material, and went through 3 levels of the ship. Help us, we're Chinese prisoners by the unholy torsion wizard. We will pay you, let us out, a desperate voice said behind bars. Let us in, let us out. Behind Jensen, a cutlass pirate swung a ball and chain. Jensen used his ass like a flashlight, blinding the enemy, then after charging power, jumped and flatulence manifest in his face. Freezing him through freezing his brain, then with a practiced swift karate heel kick, kicked his head off. A half-breed werewolf mage was indeed part of the tough crew, and he exited the treasure vault. Jensen met Ice Beam on Fire Wave, they spewed and fought, the beam was going back and forth. You will bend to my bending over technique. There are no wizards, we fail and lose track. Inspired by James' arm wrestling, Jensen put balls and larger balls into his ice beam, overwhelming the weremage and freezing his arms. Concentrated slushy blizzard. Jensen made a 1 by 1 meter cube frozen as the ice comet dwarf star, and the mage fell over as an ice cube with legs. Help USSSSSS. Don't worry, no physical lock is safe from Jensen. Jensen put his buttocks on the prison door with the pressure, opened it like a cork. Somehow it made a cork sound. They inspected the treasure vault. There was a desk for the captain maybe, but there were piles of gold, candles and gold cups to the roof. It looked like the most secret expensive room in the Western Sea. Who are you? Said James to the Asians. Have you never seen a prisoner? Shoot them across the Coffee Bean Island. Indeed, they would be shot into Chinese waters. Who knew if it would be helpful? I'm going to clear my head with some traveling, I think, said Jensen. I can take this attack to New Paris headquarters. He put on his magical swim feet that made him stand on water, then he crouched 90 degrees and farted like a motorboat, skimming a purple fish across the sea. James was feeling as ambitious as only a psychomotor genius can, stimuli sensitive neuromuscular system among other things. Like zealous energy breaching limits. Napoleon, I want to uptake making beer and sell. I think I know how to do it already. For the rowdies, those that open their fridge for no reason and those that can't find their keys. We'll see how it goes with a small month's investment. James thought to really making something unique, not cheap, and something he would drink himself. The taste of beer is fine, but he would like something that completely knocks you out with flavor, like a luxury liver punch, something 10 out of 10. James read ancient text from drunk monks and illuminating coffee bean Caribbean delicacies. There were stories of gourmand and studies of wizards, not a library but scrolls for ancient recognition and purpose. Yeast consumes the sugar from the broken starch, wanted byproducts. The combination of hops, barley and yeast makes the flavor different. Price, duration and temperature, percent and black gull. James decided he wanted to make 1 knockout beer, 1 lemonade or chocolate beer, 1 Christmas beer. James went shopping for every yeast, hops and barley, as expensive as he could dare, while still being a deal. He crunched words with surly straw hop sellers and pinched almost secrets from red-faced brewers. They didn't know what he was going to do. Wow, this beer is delicious, he said to the brewer. He bought 10 of the best contemporary beers and synthesized what made them thus. His palate could separate every ingredient and sensation. He learned from legendary monk biologist Uric Aran Ursel to brew honey wine and champagne. He was fat, sassy and invented the monk's haircut. He took golden gull and alcohol found on different planes and experimented on way too hot temperatures like with Italian coffee, direct and make room with the burntness. Dwarves were hard getting anything out of except how the toe of Satan hops grew without sunlight. One threatened him Scottish over kangaroo steak. James was unhappy with the first knockout beer, it tasted like brass, not gold. Let's change half the barley into Shetland Golden Maine. This one tasted more pleasant brass, almost non-beer-like. He could pretend this was the best beer. Scottish Wizard's bloodleach yeast was substituted. Fine beer it made, gulp it was until 3 days. Another batch he tried blasting the grains with spells spicy and blast chilling with yeast that made a different weaker alcohol. Chateau Vert Hospice he drunk, and it knocked him out, like making him smarter and wiser. Knockout, a suggestive kiss. Like clouds and whipped cream. Time to take another pint. The price was 2.5 quid to make, about 2 times more expensive than normal alcohol. The student is out of the making laws district, said Napoleon. I have before you beer, said disciple, drink golden. This is going to sell, man. Sell it for 3 quid. Call it James Knockout. What's the percentage? 1.7%. This might be a problem, let's hope people get drunk enough. You can drink more. This made with Chateau Vert Hospice. Chapter, hungover. James tried adding cocoa powder and half-brown sugar into his leech unsuccessful beer, it had paved the red-faced way. Had to taste a bit chalky and flat. More insane, James thought to add ground fat hen gourmand coffee beans in. A diabolical sinful mix. 8.5 out of 10. James always got drunk on Christmas beer, or even higher percentage German Bock beer during thus. Prost, you can't drink many. He infused Hell's habanero hops with pressure cooking and just barley he knew would work from other beer. Instant success. James Chapter 3 Delicacy beers him, maybe I should sell them 3 by 3. Things would go prosperous for James Napoleon Caffeinated Industries. They made bigger batches counting the dollar and took out a large margin with the delicacy beer. They competed with English super solid pints, dwarves drinking dark dwarf stuff. Dwarf Guinness was a trustworthy staple. French mannerless combat and fencing masters, who were allergic to grapevines, made unaccessible wine, and Chinese Maiju beer and Shaoxing wine. A drunk spy managed to remember. Napoleon, Chinese Maodai Baiju Industries just moved their delicious storage uncompartmentalized. Even the new cherry soda cider. I know where, I have a credible source, you can always trust dishonest people to be dishonest. Wizard Yensid, Napoleon, James and 10 honest pirates edged across the dark docks. The darkness told them dark insanity not to trust like fear over futility. It smelled like dirt and cement too. In here, the spy mentioned a guard over documents and swindle room. I will take him out silently. They came to a door with a grate, they saw the guard neck. Yensid jumped and sucked his ass to the door. With an incredible suction he stuck the guard to the grate. AAAARG, oh my god. The guard started screaming, eventually Yensid started screaming too. Crunch. Yensid had broken the neck of the guard. Unchivalrous they snuck to the strong lager where opened with giant doors, stood the Chinese inventory, shelf after shelf. Take this anti-poison scaly potato cactus, we have as many as you need. If you drink too much I can suck the alcohol out of your blood and turn into blood pearl dust. They opened bottle, can and leg, armed with capsule opener and cork machine. This is delicious, said James drinking cherry and blackcurrant cider. He felt modernly Asian. I don't know how they drink the wine tonic, said Napoleon. Brit, Belfast isn't that bad, he felt insulted, it's terrible alcohol though. 5 hours later. They sat on rough equipment in a circle drinking the last wine bottles, straight from the bottle. With Yensid dissolving their alcohol they had drunk, the entire inventory. Kanan Riesling, very interesting. Finally I can afford every recommended delicacy wine, they were right. To piracy. Pilfer and borrow forever. May the best country thus win the islands. To the Chinese they left a card from Tea and Coffee Industries Ming Bakken. Thanks for the inventory, it was delicious. Napoleon and James felt just as good, productive returning. We need to make a commercial. We can't film anything in 1001. What filming with, about a potato? That'll work. Do you think we should change name to Underbite Assertiveness Industries? Strategic hip replacement. Chapter The Last Yodeling of Fate. Darn that's the banker hair shekel that's going to sponsor British tea and coffee heroes? Not all heroes wear capes, some wear lederhosen, said Napoleon. Despite having a cigarette in his mouth he was yodeling like hypnotizing. He picked up speed impossible as his bowler hat shined from greed. Be careful, they say he's so greedy he can transform into a dragon. After applause hysteric the INTP, showing their most intolerant side yet still auxiliary, like them engaging in a group, edged over to Napoleon. I see you Napoleon, you don't like that I have been sponsoring British market dominating? The corporations will be German. In truth. He knew he was unbeatable pretty much before gloating. You can't beat British caffeine addiction with German engineering. I'm going to show you how to eat your bowler hat. I will surge quarterly prospecting with British Expo. Shekel is going to fart confetti so tomorrow we die alive, James. That curls my toes. No I'm not. Napoleon Industries ended up brewing wine too and James had room in his brain for this without even creating a break. Vineyards they had bought from Shooting Count in a Culverin had Pinot Noir, one of the best wine grapes, they mixed with their own. James realizes any fruit can be made into wine, can mix in concentrations of other fruit. The ENTP realizes the value of an idea or the future the best it feels like intuitive talent. It's just some acidic sugar water for yeast to grow in. Yeast will expand, but air in causes stale oxidized wine. Degas the wine, clarify with white night clay. Once again, the best soil, yeast, grapes and sugar and the combination of thus makes the best wine. Crushing the fruit yourself makes for better taste than crushing fruit yourself for juice. He would spend to hope rich people would. He knew some people favorably drink cheaper wine by the cent different. Counting the dollar over noticing the taste. James tried watermelon wine, blueberry and strawberry blueberry lime. Let's try brown sugar, sucrose boiled into fructose and glucose and even honey, Red Star Montrachet or champagne yeast. He had to try apple and mango wine. Everyone knows what their food is worth at a restaurant, but drinking the audaciously expensive wine glass. No idea, this is how modern high-class restaurant profit is made. Inspired James would sell his blueberry and mango wine as something dandy and exclusive, take out a confusing margin. He sweetened his blueberry wine, it has a lot of flavor. He knew the best-selling wine here tasted like 50% juice. The sourest watermelon wine he thought to switch honey as the sugar the yeast ate, it made sense. And when tasting he could also taste the sensibleness, but other things had happened too, like unwanted guests coming to drink your wine. James were thinking intelligently, possibly, backwards. Wow, if I get the cheapest hops I have, wrong bittermint barley and champagne yeast I can make piss beer. He made a small batch insanely pretty much and summoned Arnaud with a telephone-like personal pinch of blue cannon powder. Also for tasty testing. Wow, this tastes like piss. I'd drink this, Arnaud. I would have cried gourmand wine tears. Right tears. James was working, thinking about making a new stronger beer, James real knockout. Napoleon enters. Here's a bonus mate for making our quarterly prospecting go up 20%. It's a proper key? It's a pocket dimension. For your wine, I planted a meatball stalk and a giant nutritious 80% protein mushroom. I was going to buy a key into the dimension of sleek feminine, huge-breasted women. They're all interested in you and will buy you a drink, but they are all half monsters of different animals. Medusa farts turns people to stone as well. James opened and saw a huge, magical garden. Like a greenhouse, it was stuck to the ceiling with Pinot Noir grapevines, watermelons vertical on stalks growing or horizontal. A pocket sun in the pocket paradise was a little bit away from everything in the middle. The gravity pulled in his stomach like suggestive. Yellow and black carrots, black garlic, wizard's garlic, it was strong like a gnome biting your tongue. The place was circular in glass with a waterfall, nipple-pinching pink crabs and a 20-meter cliff, circulating with quail birds and eggs. Golden beet bushes, lemons, sour grapes, a mango tree, healthiest algae, inconsiderably more choking ivy, pomegranates, pineapple with an explosive taste, purple pineapple with the same antioxidants as blueberries, the antioxidant is the color, whiskey on a faucet. Many different kinds of bananas grew, some healthier, some made for gumbo, some grew like a model's hair on the side over a sideways palm. It's so vegan, he said to the white mushroom. Around the waterfall there was a giant lily pad water garden. You could have a Swedish fika and cookie stall sitting on white marble chairs, designer table on the at least 1 meter lily pads. He invited Arnaud, Napoleon, Sabrina thus. I welcome you to Lily Floren's. The waterfall could be heard rumbling between them. I have before you Swedish vacuum cleaners, they're like princess cake rolled like cigars, delicacy shop explained. Chocolate balls with coffee flavor and lemon liquor, raw food balls, Swedish meat and some Italian whiskey I hamster bagged earlier. The vacuum cleaners were weird to the touch and spoke of sugar and things too sweet and less royalty, like a cough of syrup. The Walcher cabin was rectangular with the bottom corners being more narrow. Sabrina walked clumsily like she would set things on fire and Arnaud tested too, intentionally. This should hold for your thickest actions, Arnaud. What do you mean, he said confused. Look at that cute red flower, said Sabrina. I've been working on being a witch, making cauldron tea and fire-infused progress. Maybe hell can teach me for free if I pretend to work there. Abusing the state of free education, there's a technique to that, said Arnaud. Finally something I'm competent in. I graduated in practical tools, benefits 3 times. It took 2 months. It was 5, James said excited. I have also been trying to pull all the purple-green plant hybrids or monsters, the vegan golems you could say, out of the earth. Maybe you should train to become an albatross. That sounds like a good idea, said Arnaud. Who knows what he thought. Sabrina used a lily pad to climb the waterfall with magic, then hunted quail. She ate them with feathers and everything. Pay attention, Sabrina, I'm about to say something important. She turned her head like pertained basically with a quail sticking out feet first in her mouth. They say what you drink is of essence in a Swedish fika. Let's drink whiskey then. Aye. This Swedish fika is very good. James thought to install some rabbits, 1 every 2 square meters, to extend his dimension concavely. They were tolerating each other's population like humans. They were golden in the paradise, peaceful and sentinels of nature's balance. He had installed a butter seal from winning its surly boots thus and it had a baby seal. These seals are fine with humans, biting back as predators if necessary, bouncing through and on. The baby seal was gray and white, curious like a fat cat, thus mother was concerned with what the unknown could do. James pushed the limits, feeding and petting, showing them to the rabbits. James picked up some psychic, being up during the night reading as a genius night owl. Someone is ruining my precious stuff like hurting my loved ones. There was spies and pirates opening the vault of 1,000 doors into Napoleon capitalistic secrets. James in a sexy bathrobe uses martial arts and ass-kicking, they're getting rounded up like turtles beaching in a small zoo. Don't beat me up, man. You're already dead, he pointed a finger. I'll spill the beans, aristocrat Fitzgerald has taken an interest in you and wants you gone. He's going to beat me up more than you if he finds out we failed. He has conquered every enemy and embarrassed them like a torturer flays skin. You're next and he will have a plan and secrets you won't beat. Thanks for the cowardly heads up, you'll eat my weakest attack. James slapped him in the face, he went spinning knocked out 4 times before hitting the ground. James had begun to find a cure for burnout, mixturing with potions. I must just find my stride. There is such potential in what increases attention span, what increases energy must cure burnout, mitochondria cells manufacturing. He tested them on Pirate Turpentine Thomas, who had no sense when to stop. You're not a man productive unless you push over your limits. He went through and mixed every brain booster, it cured him of attention difficulties and bipolarity instead. He came up with a booster that made you not feel fatigued thus. James was browsing wares in Pirate Port Rotten sneering Slug Henry. It's time for you to get a proper giant 2-handed sword like a German mercenary, a Flamberger or Zweihander, said Arnaud. This is too heavy. Technically it's medium weight, people keep their distance, as long as you swing anyway. Magically get a shorter grip. There was a winged Flamberge, gemmed teal and artsy golden circles dotted amongst feathers and uneven detail. It was almost 2 meters. You will see that it speeds up smooth hitting several targets and after killing, one of my best swords truly, it glows blue and will block magical projectiles if you hit the blade. The other one you could look at is Ripsaw. We also have Parrot Annihilator on sale, you won't find an axe more trustworthy. What is a parrot except put into a cannon? And sat on by a fat lady. There are the penniless corsairs, no doubt. Flying the black flag. Dollars and cents. There was a pirate with a wide face and tired eyes, sulking about his better times. He seemed a chapter behind, like too fat and too unchivalrous. Do you want to join the crew? What are you considering? What territories are you up to? His pals seemed focused on their creed, their status intolerant. You seem to be chilling, good man. There is plunder on tactical enemies for mutual savagery. If you want to reconcile like a pirate, you need to drink like a pirate. Here's a stamp, Honest Jimmy's Pirate Bar Crawl. Shoot a pistol in the air to agree. Kablam. It seemed like he had hit an eagle. James thought to pick Sabrina Arnaud and maybe Olivia on this. 11 destinations, Sigmund's near lethal martini? Said Arnaud like frightened, yet nervously ready. It's time to become penniless thus, and penniless. I don't know if I can do this, said Sabrina, concerned in her emotional world like not a contender. I love your company. We love your company, said Arnaud, starting a second after James. They made it to the Penniless Collective, Islands, where they met Cuban-speaking gentlemen in a bar made of bamboo and hay. Can I please have one of your off-the-menu drinks, mango rum cayenne strawberry? It's on the menu thus, this should be a cocktail anywhere, you wait and see. It's sweet but there's alcohol like a swing. Makes more sense than Canadian Caesar drink. It has vodka, clamato, hot sauce and Worcestershire sauce. I can pronounce that, Worcestershire. It's just Worcester actually, like Leicester is just Leicester. You can learn to say many things, languages with exceptions. Arnaud didn't believe James very much at first. They should just have the pronunciation on the bottle, they got the whole world saying Worcestershire. There's Welsh City Clanbirepith Wingeth Gagareth Windrobeth Lindicilia go, said English James thus. Who needs to pronounce anything like how they spell, said Sabrina. I am lightweight thus, I'm shaky. Rum makes me happy. You are muscular like a gym enthusiast. Muscle is not fat. You seem concerned with things out of place, I shall sign your card of bars. The second drink already spelled trouble. Are you kidding, it's Canadian Caesar? The party felt like fate stabbing too soon, improper. I don't want clam and tomato juice. Don't worry, it makes perfect sense, said the Canadian French barman, just try it. They downed the drink and thought about the ingredients like grenades. Yeah, it makes perfect sense, said Arnaud. I think I'm gonna throw up, said James. You're gonna throw up, said the barkeep. This was a strike, belligerent and dangerous, broken, omniscient curse. My body is telling me to stop here, there's the world spinning like I have no handle and safety, said Sabrina. You are very good at describing like inner world of intuition and feeling, I believe you quicker thus than you put effort. That's 2 bars out of 11. This will be more than just bar crawling. This is going to test us as men and Sabrina's huge eyebrows. I had an idea to go to every major pub in London, one at a time. They went to a fancy black and white place like Futuristic or Cosmopolitan. It was a club for the high-class pirates, like the capitalists who didn't just steal from people but also each other. They seemed to be treated great, like high class, missing some things and expecting you to only be cryptic, not being especially impressionable or intelligent. Mentioning how things are spiffy. The man had the greatest mustache, truly fashionable, 2 black giant stripes perfectly curved upwards, expensive suit, short oily haircut. We have a minimalistic corn barbecue, he said like effortlessly. I'll take a round of greasy animals, said James. They had to each imbibe the near-lethal martini, which was dry like paper but flavorful. Thus refreshing, a little bit fruity like it was a new kind of fruit. I've had worse. It was a double. Time to toughen up, said Sabrina. My throat dried up like dry cleaning service. I can see you gentlemen are in the Honest Jimmy's parlor. I get people now and then, enough for me to forget about it, to unadapt despite making a mental note. Some things we wait for only outside our reach. You are wise, Mr. 3 Grogs down, we must be wise and mature with what life makes us waiting. We wait and wait, the lonely waits, the victim waits for a good life, the patient get revenge. We wait for friends and crushes, ever forgetting the merriest, populated bunch or the lonely. Normal married people, their easy problems and their happiness make me sick, said Arnaud. Why should they be happy? I'm not sure what to make of this, said James. There was a workers' bar, but there were no benefits in sight, it smelled like piss, brought down and colored of boring landscapes. The office blue-collared sucker punch. The office blue-collared sucker punch? Yes, you punch the collar, not the other way around. You explain that every time, don't you? I don't see the problem. It was an overweight witch looking at least in the face audacious barmaid. She was rather rectangular despite being a hut. The problem is the name, you shouldn't have to do extra. What if the charm is explaining, like a name where you tell a story? There was an Irish coffee and a fat, whipped cream tasting cider. They stood uniquely silent, hands on drinks. This whiskey is terrible, said thus James. Shut up, said Arnaud. I'm afraid there won't be any red wine, I have memorized each alcohol I have drunk. Why did you become a penniless corsair? How lucrative are these guys? I was blown here by English winds, I was used to being an English cook, God our food is awful compared to French, Italian, Spanish cuisine. Oh look, these 4 countries are all sewn together. Somehow we have carved out a fine dining niche. I still love the English pea and meat pie. A pie is hard to make, can't be dry, needs meaty yet refined flavors, it needs to be balanced like falling apart. You need experience, you need taste buds, you need to fail. You need to be a hard-working family feeder. You need to have tasted a good pie, meaning superior, said Sabrina, always having something to add. I was part of a vegan conspiracy entering a pie competition, knowing that we would clap the competition and win. You can't do that, that's disrespectful. Why do people say this? Vegan pies are really good actually, said Sabrina, light and the crust tasting more like oatmeal. Who knows where Arnaud was, intoxicated. He was surprised by people and amazed how people in society worked. This should have been the stopping block for him. Sabrina was still elegant, James was crunching numbers hard. The next one on the list says, ominous draft. I'm fine with drinking this, said Arnaud. He wasn't. Westernized like noodle bacon gulch, they came into dry land. Leave your weapons with the coat hanging, said a surly person. If you seen him, you play him. There was murderous intent and white jeans cowboy pirates. It seemed like no one actually left all their weapons at the entrance. I'm going to blow off your head if you keep being sour. Guess from 1 to 10 how much I'm going to miss. This tiny gulch isn't big enough for the two of us. I feel like I need to show off my baguette, alpha conviction. Exercise mercy and patience Arnaud, claim a monster or a beast. There is a kept baguette for every whack, he said wisely. Outside were pirates fencing to death instead of in a Mexican standoff. Why do they call it ominous draft? Arnaud said this was the perfect wrong thing to say. James wondered why people couldn't just keep it normalized. The barman, who was a white mustache goatee, didn't answer. Maybe we need to drink it to figure it out thus. A man drinks the ominous draft and does not question it. He was charming and sweet in his voice, he told you stories of being a man and made you think to be one. Men, even intelligent contemporary men, need to go in and out being a proper man to feel good enough. Filling stereotypes created maybe for no reason. Intellectually you could go into being a man, just the positives, like working on your better version, to be tougher, to be what a man should be thus. Even gay men have the sternest manliness, sometimes perhaps like secret between men. Arnaud could fill this bar being a Western man, but it was exhausting for long, he didn't just whip it out. The Planner Society keepers, no matter which personality theory you exert, have all these ways of proper filling in physical force and work, in socializing, in being productive. They base their value on how they do on a good day, at their best. 10 out of 10 health is an easy solution thus. James kept looking at Arnaud, based on personality types, the impatience, the exhaustion, the audaciousness in his culture. 3, 2, and 1 gentleman. They swept it charmingly, like a group decided not to think. They coughed all 3 of them like in different directions. Man, that is dry. I feel unsure of every thought. I feel like I've been medicated by a butcher. When will this pass? Soon enough, said the barman. Compassionate like a rock, merciful like an executioner. The next drink was a Harvey Wallbanger, orange juice and vodka, but with propane. There seemed to be a villainous place, there were literally villains, green and black graffiti, almost black club lightning. A demon, 200 kilograms and able to talk about nothing chivalrous, normal were fighting an orc, the orc facing him up like a tiger. In one unforgettable move he pushed him out the window. What can I get ye sour gents? We're bar crawling, Jimmy's bar crawl, the bar crawl. What makes you think I will help you on Jimmy's hither or thither? Because we're bar crawling, I don't expect us to have any resistance buying the drinks. What makes you think it will be easy? He sneered the words. I am a slayer of every foe and harbinger of fire, our succubus is straight from hell and can trick everyone here. I imagine wreaking havoc is actually unwanted by my prowess. Well, there is a reasonable amount for every brawl, fine, I'll give you the coughing propane remedy. They grabbed 3 orange drinks with happy orange slices. Oh, it's sweetened with something, said Arnaud. Maybe propane is sweet, said James. Arnaud choked on his propane. If there's something I'm going to chat about, if there's something I want to chat about, said the barman, it's made from a special dark wizard propane, fed to their trolls and gardeners. Their followers are weak and shake in nervousness. It's very gassy and will make your stomach twist. Lit your farts on fire is recommended, smells like cumin. There is no propane except that farts we light on fire, said James wisely. He gave them a dark red dwarven lighter that said, 1 day sober, 1 day evil. All animals think farts and falling over is funny. Getting hurt is universally funny, they feel irony. Have you seen penguins falling over the ice? We know seagulls and parrots laugh. Parrots laugh at you, Arnaud, I could never imagine, said Sabrina. I had a parrot that was offensive against the French, I had to throw him out. I think a water buffalo would more laugh on the inside. They can submerge for up to 5 minutes, just like me. Maybe you are related to bison. They went to a Mexican restaurant per bar Enrique's enclosure, it was really elevated on a cliff, with a garden. You are not one of those rowdy penniless problems, said Enrique, he was taking orders in a brown apron, short hair like a helmet and mustache heavy goatee. An enchilada was thrown over them 1 meter and hit a servitor. She was weak to this kind of projectile and power, in being upset she got weakened. I'm a pirate as far as I'm a mercenary, I keep the French vineyards clean. Just be proud over being a pirate, said Arnaud. I drink alcohol spice like a desert. We have a special today where you have the big 4 commercial Mexican food, empanada, enchilada, burrito, quesadilla. For being upset about the spirited and drunk pirates being aggressive too considerably, he seemed fine with them being pirates. You really put the ECH in empanada. What? I have heard Swedish people eat tacos every Friday but they are chained to the cheap seller Santa Maria. The burrito will not have cheese, stop asking, this is why we have the quesadilla. I want my quesadilla with green pesto and no meat please, can I double my order? We think in this way, towering spice connoisseur. We also had a fancy Mexican legend, Raul Cruz, come over thus, not just a legend in the Coffee Bean Islands. He thought to deep fry grasshoppers taco and cover them in gold. It is flimsy, thin gold doesn't cost more than Pico de Gallo family platter with churros. It will be earthy, I will try this, if possibly earthier then maybe you need to add turmeric. We will need to mix the turmeric with something like cinnamon then. I will eat the grasshoppers even if they are terrible, says Arnaud. That doesn't make any sense, Sabrina thought. I want a large Pico de Gallo, said James correctly, being pretty much a parrot behind the ears, more auditive than visual, and a churro plate. We deep fry the churros with lemons and cilantro, a deep frying fried technique that works on churros. If you gentlemen like spice and culinary mixes between cosmopolitan and tradition, I recommend the chicken mole. I will eat like a beast in hell, Sabrina said sadly. I don't see the problem, said Arnaud, hitting on her technically as he was jealous of every woman eventually. In Italia they are like, it must taste perfect but you must change nothing, James said a bit mocking. This is not the way culinary. The French palate and Italian are the most sensitive, even to spice. What do you say, restaurant owner?
Bunny! YouTube videos.
The French palate and Italian are the most sensitive, even to spice. What do you say, restaurant owner? He said. We will also order as drinks, Aritos margaritas like watermelon agua fresca, that's why we're here. The man didn't flinch. They had a coat hanger to the roof with fashionable giant sombreros, starred with corn tortillas, half wizard. Considering they were going to drink, this fitted perfectly. They also ordered the dirty taco, which was contemporary greasy pork or halloumi with pickled red onion, crumbly peanuts and differently flavored dough-covered corn. When Enrique came back they asked him, is there a place for the wheat tortilla? Is there only traditional corn tortillas? The wheat tortilla is brilliant, great, we serve both. What about even different flour tortillas, buckwheat, teff, quinoa, oatmeal? You have a fat mind, Pirate James. Obviously oatmeal should work with different flavors, like a pancake taco. They ate like it was a food challenge. James was burning through food like a giant, bottomless. The others analyzed him and picked up his behavior, trying to feel like an oven. They had a huge pint of margarita and enjoyed another kind of sugar, Weber agave, fermented into alcohol. This is a lot, said Arnaud, analyzing as audaciously as he is logical. Square sometimes round. I feel heavy like a boat that will not adjust to the sea is over the sky and falling over me as I try to wish it away. Sabrina was the one pushing the furthest, her no-fat body completely lost. She was joking and thought everything was funny, pretending she was content drinking wine. I love Mexican food, she said, I could eat this every day. If you are content you can have a shot of tequila, made from a more difficult agave plant that grows here, might be from the agave family. On the house, thus we celebrate. There were many pirates, drinking margaritas and watermelon heat soakers. What are you celebrating, they said, teeth and toes curled like goblins. James just said, I'm becoming a penniless pirate, going out of business. Very well then, there were not many right answers to these questions, yet easily unbothered. As a penniless man and holy I can tell you another story. I was talking about the extension of the sea into the flat dimension of the coffee plane, or plains if you will. William Echelon said he'd sail around the edges even if it'll take him all eternity. We haven't seen him since. How far did he noticeably get? He well stocked up and prepared at the waterfalls of ever far and flourish, golden waterfalls and caves of eternal formations, so vast even if you break everything along the way, stalagmites, cracks and geodes there will be inaccessible landscape. There's people who live there, in fields of golden green and perplexing black sooty bark they export. Before the entrance, the farthest gate the ship had a spyglass like a cannon, segmented in shiny brass. You could haul it on your shoulders on an arc and with a hand-sized wheel zoom in. They could avoid any ship and cannon fort. On the trackless sea there are recurring things, skull islands, pelican ibis bird and things with small variety. Teleports back and forth a bit, encounters with totems, idols and heads, both helpful on average. Ponds of drinkable water you can boil, yet they slow down the ship with barnacles with fins, sliding puzzles into caves with singular increasing treasure, giant chess sets against halberd aquatic orcs. They will be silent as you ask of your purpose. He already sailed beyond the trackless seas, the way is through spiritual visions and stars are a puzzle. There is a 1-meter empanada we make, some parts filled with hamburgers, chicken, said the servitor. Perfectly cooked, we are used to making giant foods. They were drunk but they decided on this decision wisely. I want a 1-meter taco, said Aranude, being assessed in irrationality. That would be a mess, said Sabrina, being concerned.
Okay, I have to go in 5 minutes. This is it. This is the end anyway.
That would be a mess, said Sabrina, being concerned with being proper after being compromising. For her there was gray instead of black and white ways of doing things, but she had to point things out when they were improper. Like an endless correction without deeper thinking. There was a giant empanada like a ravioli slammed on the table like a deer, there were funny edges that looked flimsy. They had a feast, James knew things would go down eventually, focusing on his hunger, on the flavor like it would stop. Swedish blue-collared bar emerged after being shipped like rum through merchant waters, there was a passage through a jungle island where they loomed, skimming like alligators, worrying about alligators. Thick the air was with like decomposition, oxygen, dirt and wet smells. There were spider nets 5 meters across the waters and 2 meters up. The puma-catching spider they were called. I feel sad destroying the net, must have worked a long time on this. Their appetite is not the same as their medium giant size. They reused the net too. It emerged like an IKEA, shining of relief and promise. It was clean, white and gray like an office landscape, everyone was wearing shirts and jeans, they had stout Swanglish, though they were maybe as smart, half of them lacked better English, like buffaloes. What is your national dish, Mental Gen? It is actually mashed potatoes, meatballs, gravy, fairly tasty, you must have sour berry jam so it is sickly sweet. Could I have less sugared jam? Shut up, James. Yes, shut up, James, said the Swanglish square. Why should we buy your dish if it is only fairly tasty? This is not a diner of apes and Swedish links. I should have used better words, I was being modest, nobody thinks they are anything unless really arrogant stuff. That's the Swedish goal, isn't it, to be so talented and great you can think you are greater than the surly average. We have plenty of elevated dishes. The meatballs are made from deer, moose and pork, the gravy is rich from hare and goose liver, pieces, balls of goose. The berry jam has red wine. Which kind? Swedish Rondo, Pinot Novo. What are your bar crawl drinks? It is a mix of the best Swedish stuff, some things that are interesting like quinoa pancakes like punch, snaps, sweet mulled glögg wine and spiced spirits. And some stuff no one knows why we drink, you expect your midsummer solstice friend to bring the good stuff, but they really don't, blind and deaf, maybe snaps is the herring of the alcohols. It is important to question everything, unless it gets silly. We British people are always conscious when things turn silly, silly walks, silly grandeur. If someone gives me aquavit I will drink, then maybe I will be a philosopher. They had 4 things to drink, each unique, high-spirited. It was spicy but mostly alcoholic, James didn't really understand this culture, the classics didn't give him any directions. Tell me about Swedish traditions. For winter we used to eat meat mixed kind of like beef Wellington, really nasty stuff like meatloaf all in taste, we discounted that. Christmas is materialistic with beautiful loving gifts from parents, we weren't too religious anyway, culture can be brilliant even without religious pass-through. Obviously. The islands are religious through, secret mothers worshipping sexy statues. Instead we eat fish, like herring, and potatoes, for spring we have herring and potatoes, and for midsummer snaps like the Germans, herring and potatoes. This is getting silly, said Arnaud, forsooth, I will not have it. I am really upset about Simon Cowell. The twat. This is getting very silly. Everyone started making stupid faces showing their front teeth. If this turns any sillier you will have to be turned into a flounder and fired from a cannon. Thank God for American and Mexican food, so my kid says too, said the Swedish. Oh, we have Swedish haggis too, it's called pulsa, it's your likable honest innards spiced with fried egg and potatoes. I love the mashed potato part of haggis, and make a vegan version. You can eat as much as you want, unless there's too much of the potassium in potato. Potato isn't too filled with anything, like most starchy roots, it is selen and C vitamin. Remember me, silly man, as you eat this delicacy, I want a bucket. We could do a food challenge, who is fastest to eat a bucket of mashed potatoes. With haggis thus, Englishmen. Eating a liver can be very healthy from an animal, getting their storage of minerals and vitamins, unless you get too much. We have even better Swedish cuisine on the penniless lands, don't forget the desserts, buy them thus, they are maximized in reviews. How cold does it get in Sweden? Surely we can have a pleasant conversation about this. Stupid Canadians think they have it colder and rougher just because of some places reaching the Arctic, where no one lives. We have elk too, call it moose, and they eat tundra, every pine cone like an ant. I guess this is true, there is relevance, you seem like a relative man. Time is relative, and winter feels like forever, there is darkness because we are heated by streams, it is more north. I have never experienced a summer with constant sun. People go crazy without the sun appearing in winter, like cabin fever. I believe you. To answer your question, Sweden is very stretched, like from Germany to Italy, so it gets cold, and then it gets more cold. We always look at the northern Sweden and imagine the cold of -45 degrees Celsius. There is Westerbotten cheese. Correct, there is the northern cheese, which is delicacy in crumpets, pie and sticks. It is easily likable. 97% of people are a fan. Is it not like Appenzeller? Strong smell, crumbly texture, savory, salty and nutty. It is between cheddar and parmesan, but not quite. We have it in every dish, said Sven. No, but on pasta, potato and ravioli. Everyone is a communist in northern Sweden. Sven is upset, but everyone votes left in the North University cities, good for the left parties. There was a small place, French bar on the Penniless Adventure. The French drink alcohol too, if you can imagine that. Look, they have giant frog legs, from the frogs of New Pirate Baltimore, tastes like chicken. Delicious, let's eat some. Bartender, we would like your bar crawl drink. Gosh, how many times have I said this? You look like you're barely standing up. You need a different kind of alcohol then. Barely starboard, swaying abreast. I wonder how the women look like in Brest. They look like your mom, said the barman. They got to drink a tonic wine that was made from different processes of grapes. It was sweet and confusing, remarkable yet boring. This doesn't make any sense to drink. What's the advantage of drinking a wine tonic? The advantage is a rich tradition. Not all alcohol has to taste good. James was appalled at this French, stubble-haired idiot. How could someone be so wrong? He said, also this is 30% alcohol wine, you would have noticed. Sabrina got something between a panic attack and seizure, hurting your brain powered by nervousness and tics. This is a new French bar with food for the bowling and belligerent. Do you want some sandwiches? He asked like he was not working there. We have croque monsieur and a homemade warm baguette with homemade spicy sausage, tasting like...